I think that it's easier to regime change Iran than it is to launch a AAA game now.
Welcome back to Gamified, where we gamify debates about gaming and the games industry. Jumping in with the panelists up first, he's the co-founder of Parallel, the world's most successful NFT trading card game. He's a tech entrepreneur and the king of the cards. It is Kohji.
Hey, thanks for having me. Looking forward to being on the panel with some new faces here. This is going to be great.
Got a great lineup today. The founder of the Wolves DAO, the Wolves Co., Kizuna, and the only Discord analytics tool that you'll ever need. It is the patron of Pooch, the curator of canines. It's Payton. Kaleiwahea.
Oh, there we go. Let's go. Welcome back, Tony. I'm excited to share the panel with Jonah for the first time. Love it.
Always some spice there. And right on cue, he's gone from priming Twitch with gargantuan budgets to priming gaming for its next evolution with Makko.ai. It is the flame-spitting Tony V.
Hey, thanks for having me. I want to point out to everyone listening that we spent approximately an hour and a half before this call deciding that I would go first, only for Sam to just throw that into the wind and have Kohji go first.
Different thing. That'll make sense over the next few hours.
That was the first thing that I thought about when you went to Kohji first. Not gonna lie, Sam.
Up next, he spent 14 years working at Disney, and now he's here to spill the tea. He might be middle-aged, but he's more of a Zoomer than anyone on this panel. It's Chris Heatherley.
Konnichiwa.
Makes sense.
Up next, he's the co-host of Exit Liquidity, and if we don't laugh at his jokes, he might exit the panel early. Performance marketing specialist Jerry Singer back on the panel.
What's going on? I have a Coke Zero ready to go on time.
On time.
Is it room temperature, man?
Nah, iced up, baby.
Yeah, we heard that.
Sorry, Sash.
Last but not least, founder of LiveFrame. He's building the clipping catalyst to make your product or personality look 100 times better. It's real. Jonah Blake.
I'm here to cause problems on LinkedIn, and it's going to be fun.
Be a good time.
It's working so far. Up first, who should game adaptations in cross-media IP actually be for? Mass appeal or fan service? This is going to be bullish or bullshit. I'm going to get everybody's one-word take around the horn before we jump into the deep end. But first, Amazon reportedly wants Mass Effect rewritten to be more appealing to non-gamers. At the same time, one of the critiques of the Mario movie, which I saw last night and it was awesome, was that it's too overloaded with references and fan service. So the real question is not just what Amazon should do with Mass Effect. It is, what is the job of game adaptations on film trying to actually be? Do you optimize for people that already love the IP, or for the much bigger audience that has never played the game? We're going to go around the horn first. Bullish or bullshit, Tony, on sort of neutering your IP for a broader audience. Is that a bullish or bullshit thing?
I'm going to call it bullshit on the premise, and when we circle around, I'll tell you what I mean.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
It's bullcrap.
Payton doesn't swear, guys. He says it's bullshit.
Chris?
Bullshit.
I'm bullish on it, actually.
Bullshit unless Miranda's still hot.
Kohji, you're a diehard movie fan. You're calling this bullish. Go ahead, take us away.
Yeah, neutering IP, I think, is okay, because the reason you're using IP to make a play is to appeal to a broader audience, right? Like, why not just make original things otherwise? The whole point of the IP is to suck in the idiots who are like, oh, I love this thing. Let me see it in another form, and then another form, and then another form. And the fact that you said that you enjoyed Mario just proves my point, man. It's just like, oh, there's a character I know. He said the thing from the game. That's amazing. And there's another character I know, and they said the thing, and who cares about story? They just keep saying the thing. And it works, and it makes piles of money. So I'm bullish on it.
Tony, you're calling it bullshit. Why?
Well, so I'm calling the premise bullshit because I agree with Kohji. I was like, my thing is show me the money. And so, like, I think the question of, well, like, when you say neutering the IP to appeal to a broader audience, like, that appeals, or to me infers that, like, that thing you're saying is negative. I don't think that's negative. I think that, like, that Amazon saying they want to, like, what does it mean to be less appealing to gamers, right? I think I actually don't. I wouldn't even venture how to guess what some Pogue PR person at Amazon meant when they first said that, and what it actually got, like, through the bowels of the Amazon system, and what that was interpreted as coming out the other end, right? Like, that is a meaningless statement. The idea, the point of entertainment is to entertain people, and so you want to reach as many people as humanly possible with that entertainment. And so I don't think that there's anything crazy about doing that. I say that as someone who participated in the ruining of many beautiful things at Amazon with the injection of money and dumb people who say things like we want to broaden it for people that aren't gamers. And so I worry when I hear shit like that. And so that's why I think the whole premise is bullshit. I think approaching the conversation and the creative exercise through that lens will ultimately lead to like not optimal outcomes. But I think I'm gonna say something controversial. As much as people hate that fucking Lord of the Rings show, it's like banger to watch for 30 minutes at a time. And so I think they'll do that with any IP, right? Like they'll get Mass Effect, they'll be like, we're broadening it for more people, and it'll be great to watch Mass Effect, Miranda run around being hot, shooting aliens with Krogans, and talking about fucking viral diseases that wiped out their race. Like that's gonna be fun, no matter what Amazon does with it, as long as they put $10 million, $30 million, $100 million into it.
I'm going to Kohji, that we're bouncing over to Jerry.
I just want to add that, the fact that it's not true to whatever's in the game is a gamer problem. Like, think about all these movies based on books. Think about movies that people absolutely diehard love, like the Lord of the Rings movies. They're not true to what's in the books. They've changed things, right? And I don't know if you want to call that neutering or whatever, but like the fact that we complain like, oh, it's not exactly like the game. It shouldn't be. Let it be its own thing. If you want it to be exactly like the game, just play the fucking game.
Jerry, what's your take?
Yeah, I want the people on the panel are helpless to this because I've been trying to teach them this for years and they still haven't learned. But I want everybody who's watching this to just repeat this after me: as not everything can be for everybody, right? And I just hate this idea that Mass Effect is entertaining and it's super cool on its own, right? It doesn't. When we start to do this thing where like you want to broaden it to appeal to like some mom who'd rather watch the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives or whatever, you lose the essence of what makes it Mass Effect, right? And thus it becomes this thing. And I'll use another counterpoint. We'll stay in the same franchise here. The Hobbit, right? It just became the most like pure, like simple story to understand was made horrible by like adding a bunch of extra bullshit to it, right? Now, like Mass Effect, it's okay. It's entertaining on its own. It's a great story. It's something we all love because it is Mass Effect, right? Now, when you start to add in all these other bullshit things to it, you're just going to ruin it, right? And, counterpoint to the other thing you brought up, Sam, Mario, it's great because it appeals to the people that it's supposed to appeal to, right? And it doesn't appeal to the people it doesn't matter to who aren't going to like, you know what I mean? Games can be games, right? Things can be independent of one another. It doesn't have to be for everybody because a lot of times when you make it for everybody, you end up making it for absolutely no one, and it sucks, like The Hobbit.
Yeah, Jerry, say you're in Utah without saying you're in Utah with the Mormon Housewives thing, buddy. I would say that, like,
Does your wife watch it?
No, she does watch Kardashians though, so no, I can't really say anything. So in terms of that, I would say that I think it's bullcrap because like at the same time, that's like what also gamers got you to this point in the first place. And I also feel like rewriting Mass Effect specifically kind of is even more bullcrap because it is a very great story in terms of that. Change Mass Effect 3's ending. Absolutely do that for sure. But I also agree with Kohji to some certain extent because like I'm not saying it needs to be like line by line. I actually agree very much with your Lord of the Rings reference, Kohji, or also Harry Potter or whatever it is. I'm like just talking about like the core aspect of things or just like these little type of things that like Mario, like you said, that people can just say, like he said, the line is like, yeah, that's really important to me. Like I watched a new Power Rangers movie and I freaking wanted to hear Go Go Power Rangers. And it freaking was in one of the scenes with all the Zords coming through. And I got goosebumps. And it's kind of crazy. But I'm also going to be the one that's probably going to go again or buy the movie after the fact too. So that's why I think it's bullcrap to like change the adaptation, just take the IP, strip out all what makes it great, and then pile in to make it more broader appeal. Like there is shared culture, there is shared language. Like use some of that language and shared culture so we can all talk about it.
I have a counterpoint because I have to say this. I did not know that there was a new Power Rangers movie, and I feel like part of their strategy followed so deeply what Payton just said that he was maybe one of the only people that knew that there was a new Power Rangers
There
movie.
was only 7 people in the theater, but I don't like that, Tony. Don't be using that. That was also in Oklahoma, so there's only 5 people in theater anyways.
I'm calling this one bullshit, and I'll tell you guys why, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. I think that a movie that has fan service in it can still appeal to a broader audience because they just won't know what's fan service and what isn't if it's done well enough. But a movie that has no fan service is inherently bad to the people that love the IP, and it may or may not be good to the people that don't love the IP already. And so you might as well have fan service in it like Mario did and still find a way to be 90 plus on Rotten Tomatoes, which is clearly possible. Chris, am I a dumbass, or is this a reasonable way of thinking about it?
No, I think you're on point. I mean, if it's a nuanced thing, if the core gamers who like Mass Effect don't like it and shit on it, then other people won't watch it, which is what's happened with the Lord of the Rings show and the Tolkien people. And it's happened with a lot of the Marvel stuff where they thought there was a larger, like, watch Critical Drinker, the modern audience, right, that didn't show up, but while they were alienating their core fans. So the core fans have to like it, but you also can't tell the same story that you told in the video game or it'll be boring. One thing that Marvel got right within game, for example, is they did the Infinity Gauntlet, but they didn't, and they're supposedly doing this with Doomsday as well. They're not going to do the comic book story. They're going to take the inspiration and some of the beats from the comic book story, but add some new things in so that it keeps you interested as a fan, right? This is a new way to tell the same basic story. I think with fan service, you have to be careful, because if it's all fan service, then it's just a bunch of member berries, and they got away with it in this latest Mario because everyone loves Mario. But if they do another movie like that, I think you're gonna see lower cinema scores, lower box office. So you do have to have a story. I think ultimately, like, the last thing I'll say is, Amazon did this well with Fallout, where now Fallout has a very rich lore, and it's not just about a couple of characters. And there's kind of the conceit built in the Fallout that every game is about a different bunker. So they were able to get away with that. But if you've never played Fallout, then this is a new story with new characters that you can follow, with a conceit and a world that's interesting. And if you are, and if you are a fan of Fallout, there's a lot of like depth and lore and stuff for you to follow.
Kohji, going back to you.
Yeah, I can't believe that you said in the same breath you have to have a story and that this new Mario was a success, because that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. There's no story in that motherfucker at all.
No story.
My personal favorite part was whenever somebody, I won't spoil it, but one of the characters is really struggling at a certain moment, and another character goes, "You have to try," and that's what gives them the power to then overcome overwhelming obstacles.
Jackson's gonna love it.
Yeah, the kids were going crazy in the theater that I was in. But we move on. Taste or track record? What are you taking? 10 indie bets or 1 AAA bet if you are an investor. Indie games make up 99.9% of the launches on Steam, but only capture 48% of the revenue. Would you rather diversify across the board with 10 smaller indie team bets where your taste and conviction matter, try to find the next Balatro, for instance? Or would you rather concentrate that money behind one proven operator like a Larian, a Bungie, maybe can't use that example after Marathon, we'll see, or CD Projekt Red, better example there. Let's go around the horn. Just tell me, are you taking indies or AAAs? And then we'll dig into why. Tony, starting with you.
Indies.
AAA.
AAA.
Indies.
You don't even need to ask me, man. I'm going indies.
I can pick any AAA IP I want.
You would have to invest in a company
Studio
behind the IP. You can't just pick the IP.
Oh, all right, then indie.
All right, Jerry, you said AAA, right? Go over to you.
This kind of ties into the last discussion, right? Where, like, I think the reason you want to put fan service into a thing, right, is because you have built-in fandom already, right? And so if I'm like, the premise of the question is like, if you're investing into something, I'm going to go with like the big proven people who know that their game is just going to sell, right? So for every Balatro, there's 1,000 other indie IPs that are out there that just didn't make any money at all. And people worked their whole lives to make this game, and it was their dream, and it flopped and it didn't do anything, right? And that sucks. And I hate that we're in that state of the video game industry. But if I'm investing money into something that I want to get a return on, I'm just going to take the sure bet, right? We know that whatever Bungie makes is going to sell copies, whether it's good or whether it's bad, right? And we've seen this over and over and over and over again. We're going to keep seeing it over and over and over again. Ubisoft shits out the worst games of all time, and we all get mad at them for it, but they still sell and they still make money, right? So for like, I'm viewing it through that lens of like, where am I putting my money? And I hate myself for saying this, by the way, more than I already mostly do every day. Because I want the indies to I want to see this state of gaming where you can like comfortably answer this question with saying like, yeah, I would take my bet on indie 10 out of 10 times or whatever. Most of us got our start here. We all came together through Web3, right? And how many, I don't know if we're supposed to say that, and because now on LinkedIn, everybody's invalidating my opinion, but how many like hundreds of titles did we see make $0, right? Shout out to Kohji for being like behind the one of the 5 that actually made any sort of money. But we have all intimately seen this story play out. So, for that reason, I would put my money at AAA.
Tony, you said you can't wait to tell Jerry he's wrong in the chat. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I can't wait till Jerry's wrong. No, so I think so from an investment thesis perspective, I have been hanging around trying to help people raise money for a while now, and one of the things I've observed is it feels like the investor type people, Chris, I think you're one of those people now, so you might be able to validate or tell me I'm an asshole here, that they look at is velocity and change in growth and where the puck's going and all that, the spirit animal bullshit. But if you look at the change in the growth and the velocity in the indie market and the change and growth and velocity around the advancements and in technology that are lowering the barrier to entry, like in my opinion, the picture could not be clearer that the universe that we're racing towards is one that is filled with duches and dukes and not kings and queens. And the reason for that is because distribution becomes a completely different story. It becomes much more democratized in the universe that we're living in now than the AAA universe, which is what is required for Ubisoft to quote unquote shit out terrible games every year and continue to make money with them, right? Like, one, the Assassin's Creed franchise, say what you want about it, when they make those things, they're polished as fuck. They're like good games, right? They might be the same thing. They might not be like
Marvel universe of video games,
but sure, but they're like good. They're like quality products, right? It's not like you get in the car.
I will make my money back, right? And you won't.
Yeah. No, okay, but my point is that model I think is rapidly disappearing. If you look at again if you talk to someone 10 years ago, Nigel from Devolver, and said, hey, I think that this business can be 48% of the industry in 10 years, people would look at you and said, you're fucking crazy. People looked at Nigel and said that he was crazy when he was running around launching and paying for Hotline Miami and these crazy little Enter the Gungeon things that he was launching. And turns out that he was absolutely right, that you can build a hell of a business launching games that make 500 million bucks and that's it. Right. But it takes, at the time, a couple $100,000 to make those things with a really talented team. That's the thing that I don't think people understand is the barrier to finding that really talented team that can now come together and make a really cool thing is it's like disappearing in front of our eyes. And it's because we have this large pool of very, very talented people who have all been burned in the last 6 months, and they have all wanted to make a video game their entire fucking lives. I am surrounded in Seattle by, I could throw a rock outside right now and hit 50 Amazon engineers that have just been laid off and have literally a year's worth of severance from their job that makes more money than like most people on this call have made in their entire lives. Not Chris, but everyone else, right? And so like these guys are now, these guys are now, and Kohji, but now now these guys are entering this space and they're like, oh, what am I going to do with the next 2 years of my life, right? And they're going to start making entertainment products. And I have no doubt in my mind. You go look at later on, we're going to talk about the subscription product that Donovan Duncan just launched, the former founder of Curse. That guy saw where the puck was going. He has been signing indie games for 50-50 deals as a publisher and calling indie games that failed on Steam and buying them for like $300, $500, doing some marketing around them. He has now built a 300 catalog publisher and is launching a subscription product around it. That shit's going to keep happening, and the indie market's going to continue to grow.
Yeah, that's the thing, Tony, is like these indie, when you make an indie game, it's like being Blink 182, right? Where you start off making Dude Ranch and you're like punk rock and edgy and everything, and then you just become what you hate. Right, you become then you're making rock operas, right? But no, you just don't have to do that.
The Slay the Spire guys aren't doing that. The Slay the Spire guys aren't doing that. They're not doing. I talked to the CurseForge guys yesterday, and they're like, "Hey, we're trying to throw the Slay the Spire guys money for decades." So they'll like open up mods, and they're like, they just can't be bothered because they're just making their creative endeavor. And I think that is the place that we're moving towards. That the Kohjis of the world are going to be able to sit in his chair with his fucking hand tattoos, make the game he wants, and market it via these cool networks that exist. And never have to go talk to a suit about raising money, and I think that the smart money is going to follow those people around.
Yeah, I think that it's easier to regime change Iran than it is to launch a AAA game now. So, like, You know, I like it, as an investor, you look to diversify your bets, right? But also you're looking for like, what's the outsized hit opportunity, right? There's a analogy I would draw to a film. There's a guy named Jason Blum who has Blumhouse, which is one of the money makingest movie studios or movie production companies in town over the last decade. And his model is he invests like, you know, a couple $1 billion into a horror movie, and if it tests well, then they give it a budget and release it in theatrical. If it doesn't, they put it on Netflix or somewhere. But the point is, the ones that go to theaters and get the budget, they may do $60-70 million in a weekend, and it's all profit, right? Because the cost is low. So your ability to really have an outsized hit, I think, in this business right now is tied to your ability to hook on to something viral and something that has low cost but a really high upside. And right now that's indies. It's not AAA.
Jonah, I want to tag you in next. The thing that I have an issue with what I'm hearing on the indie side is they seem to be devaluing the cost of distribution. Like, yes, you like virality is great, but part of the reason that people believe in the Ubisofts of the world is because they can just manufacture virality by having more money than God and a bunch of different accounts with a bajillion followers that they can sort of just force things down your throat and inherently get an audience. So isn't that part of the equation too? I mean, you also picked the indie side, but I know you value distribution really highly.
Yeah, I actually have a lot to say about this. I'll tell you from distribution on the indie game side, I do not think that AAA has a moat around distribution anymore. I think they did when it was purely about linear TV and about high-end paid partnerships. And you're seeing with Fortnite that doesn't really work as well as we thought. All these amazing big partnerships. Otherwise, they wouldn't have to cut some costs to increase their revenue, right? So I'll give you an example. I'm going to show my own shit. With LiveFrame, I won't say the name of the indie game just because I'm not trying to show the game and it's their data, but we just ran a campaign on $1,000 on social media and we got about 4 million views. So our CPM cost was around 40 to 30 cents. The average Facebook rate is $10. The average interstitial around a linear ad is well beyond what Facebook offers. And indie games prior could not afford that. Now they can. And these indie games are eating parts of the AA budget. So they're getting enough financing to afford these tools without having to spend millions on much larger marketing. The root of the question was why indie over AAA. There's a lot of factors if I had to think about it. One, as an American citizen, it's getting increasingly harder to invest in East Asia IP, not because they don't want those investors, but it has to do with the US and China tensions and relations, especially with AI as being one of those things. You know, they're even talking about having Tencent divest from a lot of American IPs on the public market because of this, because they're clearly a part of a larger entity, which we all know, but I won't say on this show so I don't get clipped on LinkedIn. I think the other part is margin, as well as if you're an investor, and I ran a small fund, part of being an investor is knowing where to place capital for interest, right? So if I want to just invest in AAA, then I'm just going to put a little bit of money into something like an EA or an Activision and earn my dividend. Like, okay, whatever. Like, you don't need me for that as an investor. You can just do that with your own personal wealth on the capital market and have AI tell you what to do. But when you're an investor, the idea is you have asymmetric upside and asymmetric information, which means inherently you're either getting very, very good deals on the AAA side, which again, that's not really happening. Or you have a very deep network on the indie side where, yes, of the 20 games, maybe 2 hit. But considering the other thing, which is doing an incorporated versus an LLC and where you file that company, right? Like, I know a company that has an operation out of France. Their games are not doing well, but they can't fire that team because of French labor laws. So there's all these different factors when you're investing that are more than just, is the game good, unfortunately. But when you invest in indies, then that's all you need to focus on. Because if the game's good, then you're already in early enough that you can figure out all these other annoying machinations of life. You can't really do that coming in as a AAA investor.
Kohji, what's your take on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jonah nailed it, right? Like, what we're sort of comparing is the potential of a penny stock versus a blue chip, except like the real stock market, the blue chip games aren't doing so well anymore. We've seen a lot of games in recent memory open with a lot of hype and then shutter, a month later, which is like unheard of 10 years ago. And so I think that like the idea that AAA is a sure thing seems crazy to me because it's as tenuous as ever. Whereas, yeah, indie games, I think if you're willing to put in the time and the research and find the right teams and the quote unquote fun games, that is really all that matters, because you can put in a bunch of small investments and see which one grows. And I think that putting all of your eggs into one AAA basket means that you're going to go broke or go big or go home. Whereas you got a lot of shots on goal with the indie game stuff. So I think that so long as you can trust your taste, you do that. But if you have no idea what you're talking about, or you're not really a gamer, I think it probably makes more sense to go AAA, to be honest with you. So that's pretty much everyone else on this panel.
well, Chris brings this up all the time, which is like, we are not the consumers of so much of what does well tomorrow, right? Like, we're not playing Roblox all the time. We're not playing Fortnite all the time. We're not. I mean, Tony.
Sam, but how dare you? I called Blueprints and I called Balatro during Steam Next Fest before any of you fuckers even knew what that shit was. I don't know, man.
I think you guys are underserving it for sure.
You told me Balatro was going to pop off right about the same time 74 of my other friends told me.
Yeah, dude, it won Game of the Year, and he's like, yo, I think this is going to be the next big hit.
Yeah. Whoa, wait. Speaking of indie games winning Game of the Year, although whether or not it's an actual indie is questionable, I mean, let's look at a certain French game there. So I think that the idea that AAA has it on lock, I think is a bit crazy, to be honest.
Payton, you were AAA. Tell these jokers why they're wrong.
I think
Payton. When it comes down to it, are we putting like Larian and Embark Studios and like kind of the questionable thing that Kohji is talking about? These, like, what are we talking about with like indie? Indie is a very flexible term, right? Sure. And I just don't feel as if like a lot of those are indie stuff.
Because Larian and Embark, let's go ahead and not put those in the indie category. Those are not indie game makers and publishers.
Yeah, and that's what I also feel as if like, if I'm putting my money in, I'm putting it in Larian, I'm putting it in Embark, and
Larian,
so
wait, just to be clear, I put Larian in the AAA side because they're investing
1,000% their AAA studio.
Yeah. And so like, I would love to be able to invest into Larian and like Divinity and everything like that. I just trust that team, right? It always comes down to the team and investing into who that leader is. And I just feel like they have a very good rap on it. And I think like a lot of the panel, which is surprising to me, just like is kind of passing like distribution as in just like, hey, it's just going to happen. Like, no, it's not. And even if you hit distribution, doesn't mean that you're going to stick, right? Like we saw that with Supervive. And that was one of the games that was really fun and had distribution, broke Steam Next Fest records, and then now is dead like 6 months after, right? So like, it doesn't even mean and ensure that you are going to get a success long-term, even though I very much loved that project. And even that was questionable for an indie, right? And also the thing that you said, Tony, in terms of like the indie titles or the engineers, is like engineers, I think there's a lot of things that go into actually running an indie studio. And I think that's what we all learned as well in our past ventures, that it's just very difficult, even from a logistics operations, getting the game from a zero idea all the way to shipping and publishing and doing all that stuff. There's just a lot to learn there. And I'm just like, can that leader do it in like 10, or am I just going to bet on like a Larian, or am I going to bet on it from like a Embark Studios? And I'll take that over like the 10 indies that are going to try to figure it out or deal into issues that they maybe never have heard before. Then yeah, there's just a lot of that too. Like Slay the Spire 2, you guys also brought that up too, but like they also have Slay the Spire 1. Any of like the recent like big indie titles that have sold millions of dollars, they had an underlying community that they could sell to. So they are pseudo publishers within there. So if I'm like picking those guys, like, yeah, sure, I'll do it for the, I think the Catastrophe or type of one. They did, but like they also have been building it for like 13 years, and they also have a huge audience and a followership before that. So that's what I would say.
That's crazy. Wait. That's crazy though to say like, oh, they had previous success, so they can't be an indie studio anymore. That's wild. Look at Edmund McMullen, right? Like the Super Meat Boy and Binding of Isaac and now Mugenics and a bunch of other games. Like he's as indie as it gets.
Right. I would say like, yeah, but that's like also, are we adding them to that cat? Like, I feel as if like that's just kind of like to the point where you already have an audience that you're going to sell to. It's like Alex Hormozy selling.
But I think one of the things that you guys are discounting on the other side of the fence is the old person factor here. And it's crazy that I'm saying this because I think you guys are being the old people here. And what I mean by that is Jonah over there looking like he's 10 years old, I think nailed the fucking distribution conversation, and that is that it is just dramatically changing. Like my observation is that when I was launching video games like we're talking about at Amazon, I was selling these things to people. Like there was absolutely no reason for a video game developer to interact with their Steam page. There was just not like when we started Amazon 15 years ago, that was a farcical thing to say. I remember talking to Pete Baltakes, the guy who ran retail, about it, and he called me an asshole. He threatened to fire me, and there was just no reason to interact with that platform at all. When PC gaming like it started to emerge from the soup that it was. Now, post-COVID, post-Zoomers, post-kids like living in this space, there is like, you can go right now and watch those guys I was talking about earlier from Indie.io, Donovan Duncan's company, and he has those guys streaming their games every day on Steam and making posts on their pages. There's a whole strategy now around organic growth on just your Steam page and just your itch.io page, right? And so what I'm saying is, like, I don't think that there is a silver bullet to people spending $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 and 2 years, 3 years making a game and then going and making $10 million. That is a farcical statement. What I do think we are rapidly approaching is a world where you're going to be able to, as a 1 or a 2 or a 3 person team, make a game in 6 to 12 months for $10 to $15, $20,000 in effectively sweat equity. If you can, again, if you got severance and you just afford to live, and that game just based on organic growth alone, and I wish Wills was on the call because we were having a great conversation about this the other day too, is going to be able to go generate not millions of dollars, but $100,000, $150,000. And I think that is going to be rinse and repeatable. And if I could invest in a company that was figuring that out right now, not the individual person, I don't want to go invest in me launching my little card game, right? I want to invest in, again, I'm going to keep mentioning Duncan because I don't have any relationship with him. I know him from way back, and I think what he's doing is smart. But the Indie.io guys have clearly had a strategy for the last couple of years around going and acquiring a catalog of content, which is king in this space, and then figuring out how to leverage that into the growth mechanisms that you're talking about. And I think that those are the companies that are going to be the bazillion-dollar companies in the future, because we're all going to wake up one day and we're going to realize, holy shit, all of these kids are buying where they're are now shopping where they're buying, which was fundamentally not true years ago. And the people who master direct selling are gonna be the people that win. I am wholly convinced of that.
Sam,
I just think it's way easier. I think you're making it like way easier than it actually is. That's
let me hit these guys with some stats, okay? 20,000 games released on Steam in 2025. About 300 of them managed to earn more than $1 million. So for your math people, 1.5% of games. Okay, the median gross revenue for a game on Steam in 2025, this is including AAA, was $249, right? Valve takes 30%, $174. More than 5,000 games failed to earn $100 across the entire year. The bottom 30% of indie games earned $37 combined. Okay, so indie is still, it's super top heavy, right? So like you have your schedule ones, you have your repos, peak, all those things. So I think we are really like conflated, that doesn't feel
top heavy to me. That what you just said doesn't feel top heavy to me. That feels hyper growth to me. What you just said does not
the
feel,
bottom 30% earning $37 combined doesn't feel top heavy.
No, what I'm hearing you say is that the top 70% made money. And like that was farcical in the indie space 10 years ago. That was insane. That was insane.
Okay. There's around 20,000 game releases. There's 5,000, more than 5,000 failed to earn $100.
Yes, the more things that get released, the more things that make money. That is always going to be true. 1 billion things were released on the App Store last year, and 5 things made money, right? But the fact is, you can go make an app for $5 right now and have a chance at it making money if it doesn't suck. And like that is what I'm saying. The universe that we're moving towards. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
So if there's more competition, it's going to be easier to make money.
Tagging Chris.
Yeah, but if you look at the App
WWE.
Store, if you look at Roblox, it looks the same way. There's a bunch of shit, right? There's a bunch of like cookie clickers and stuff that people put out that nobody plays, and then there's a smaller number of like real credible games, right? And out of that, the success rate is not so bad. Like I hate it when people point to these stats because I feel like it's just doomer talk. Like if you really have to look at the universe of real like games that people would actually play, right? And then it's not as bad. But yeah, you have to be good at what you do. You have to. It's like when my mother, when I told my mother I was going to go, work in, at Disney and all that stuff, and she's like, "Well, you have to be really good at what you do to work there." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'd like to fucking think I am." Like, yeah, you have to be good at what you do, of course.
Well, and real quick, I want to the thing that I want to challenge, Chris, that you just said with you. I agree with what you said, and I want to double down. Is challenging the heuristic. The heuristic is not how many failed; it is the growth of how many succeeded. That is what we should be excited about, right? That is what we and it is undeniable. It is undeniable that because of the infrastructure that exists now, and because of the new distribution models that exist now, things like Peak can exist. Things like Peak can happen over a game jam in Indonesia, or wherever the fuck that happened, and they can come back, and a couple of talented bros who have done stuff before can go and like not have to work a shitty job for the next 7 or 8 years and go experiment on fun shit. And more of that is going to happen. That's what I'm excited.
And that's what I look at when I think about these platforms is like how many new things are breaking through, right? Like, it's not how many fail, because as you said, like lots of things fail, like lots of things are crap. So you just have to screen that out. But the question is like, can you make it into the top 100? Can you make it in the top 50? Can you make it in the top 10? And we see that all the time on Steam. You never see it on free to play mobile anymore, right? You never see it on console either. So it's just, I mean, this is why you're exactly right, which is your ability to get great ROI on investment is going to be tied to your ability to go from zero to something really big, right? It's not going to be in your ability to go from 100 to 200,
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoy your Escape from Duckov movie that comes out in 6 years.
I love that shit. I play that shit all the time. I can't wait for that fucking movie.
I'm making it with AI right now.
Financially. I think that, I mean, my last take will be the root of the question was, if you're an investor, what do you pick? And whether India is top heavy or not is not the question. That's not the actual thing you do as an investor. It's, okay, how much of the IP will I own? What is the multiple on my investment if it hits? How much am I spending per investment? And if this investment ever matures, how much of it am I actually going to own or be able to use in any unique way? And also, what's the turnover of the talent that's at AAA? For example, when they leave Ubisoft, because Ubisoft is clueless now, and all of a sudden Expedition 33 goes indie, and that game could have been built at Ubisoft, clearly, because they all worked at Ubisoft. Yeah. So that's all. I mean, again, I don't think about what is working and what's not, because they both work. It's from an investor standpoint, where is my money going to do the most work? Because if I'm just investing in AAA, I might as well invest in AI stocks. Honestly, I'm getting more value out of them. They have outpaced returns. They're multi-purpose. They're going to eat the gaming business. I didn't get
that option in the question. I would have chosen that too. It wasn't put up.
No, but by investing in indies, you are investing in AI, because they have the ability and the lack of, let's call it aura debt, where they can take that kind of risk. Maybe they do AI marketing. Maybe they have some AI in their game, right? A lot of these AAA studios have artists who, for real reason and for justification, see AI as a threat. But there are two-man teams who will use AI, or Expedition 33 who used AI in some part of the game, one way or the other, who will have an advantage on these incumbents who refuse to change.
And we'll ban them from all the award shows, but they'll make 100.
I'm sure they can afford therapy and cry about it.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
All right, boys.
An award really matters at all.
Yeah, and they won the one that was important and lost
the game of the year.
Yeah.
So
we move on. That was a great debate, though. I really enjoyed that. But let's move to the next topic. PC will overtake console revenue by 2028, says Newzoo. PC this year was worth $43 billion, but it's up 10% year over year. Console is worth $45 billion, but it's only up 4.2% year over year. Over under, PC is going to overtake by 2028. Or is this just an anomaly that the Switch 2 and the GameCube can ward off over time? Let's go around the horn first. Say over under 2028. So over would be 2029 and above. Under would be it's going to happen even sooner. Kicking off with Tony first.
2028. Oh yeah, under.
Under. Jerry?
Well, Tony's 3 for 3 with being wrong. Over. And by next year, it doesn't even take till 2020.
Under.
No, but I thought.
Yeah, that's what. That's on. So
Jerry, I love you, man.
Chris.
Over.
Coach.
I'm under.
Jonah.
Over or under that PC by 2028 will beat console sales.
Yeah, it'll have a bigger market cap, essentially, a bigger market share, I should say.
Take the over.
Takes the over. All right. Jonah, kick us off then. I know you have to go soon. Why are you taking the over? Why do you think it's going to be staved off that PC overtakes console?
Well, one, AI again, hardware. There are limited buy orders you can maintain, and the government and the trillion-dollar companies who are running these models are going to get first dibs because it's a national security interest. And then something like a Sony or an Xbox or a GameCube will probably be given a certain amount of inventory in order to satiate the masses who have no jobs. That's the reality of it, unfortunately. And I think you also have Sony, who's realizing they're not doing as well on Steam as they'd like because of that 30% cut. They want to try and reintegrate the PSN network. They have to do that because they're already raising the cost of PSN probably this year. There's already been a leak about it. And the reality for game devs, optimization is really fucking tough. It's like it's the hardest thing. You have at least 2 years of development just on optimization because there's so many different PCs that you have to account for, so many versions of the game, versus if you have one PS5 and it's the standard across the globe, you can focus on a lot of other factors that aren't optimization. That's why GTA 6 is going to be on consoles first, so it'll sell like hotcakes because, like, listen, if you have money and you see this as a luxury hobby, I don't have a PS5 in my house actually, but when GTA 6 comes out, I'll spend the $900 because I want to play GTA 6 and I have the money. And there are enough people in the world who still have that kind of money for now. Maybe not in a few years, but for now.
Let's tag in Kohji, then go to Tony.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we have to define what we want to call a PC versus a console, because something like the Steam Deck, and I'm sure the GameCube, as we like to call it, is going to be more PC-like than we think, right? Like I can load Windows on my Steam Deck, and I'm sure I can on my on the Steam machine as well, right? And so it's like, how do we define what constitutes console versus PC? And I think that, like, while Jonah made some good points, the hardware shortage is going to hit the console manufacturers just as hard, if not harder. It may even be cheaper to buy a lower end PC than it will be to buy, whatever, the PlayStation 8 or 9 or whatever it'll be. And so I think that, like, you're going to see people, even the sweaty masses who don't have the money, turn to more budget friendly options, which I think inevitably are going to be PCs or some variation of PCs.
The
right?
budget friendly would be mobile.
No, I don't know. I don't know about that because, like, you see a lot of these handheld consoles like the Neo and whatever that perform pretty much just as well as a lot of the modern consoles, and they're not, they're less expensive than some of those consoles,
right? But
especially
so when we say
PlayStation's price hike.
Yeah, but Kohji, when we say budget friendly, right? So who is this type of user? Let's profile this user.
Well, the person who would currently buy a console who can't afford it, right? That's budget friendly. Like, yes, consoles are more
like two things, in my opinion. One, the game has to be such a strong desire that they are willing to spend and maybe even take on a line of credit in order to, let's say, acquire a PS5, which we know GTA 6 is not coming to PC for at least a year after release, and they want to play with their friends. The other person who's budget friendly is someone who has so little money that gaming is already a luxury, not just on cost, but based on the time they have, because they have to go work a job if they don't want to end up homeless. And so that person is going to pick a phone before a console or a PC, and that person is probably going to want more premium titles. You already saw a couple of titles attempt to go premium in mobile, which I don't think worked that well. But if you are eating sleep for dinner, you're probably scrolling TikTok. You're not playing video games.
Right, but those aren't the only gamers, man. That's like saying, a $10,000 car is budget friendly because people can't afford. Some people don't have $10,000. Like, yes, some people don't have $10,000, but the people who are looking to buy a car for $10,000 would be cheap, right? So, like, if you're comparing the strictly consoles and PC offerings, what I'm suggesting is that the PC offering might actually be less expensive, given that there's more.
If that happens to be the case, I'll agree with you. I just feel like it's unlikely, considering that we literally have something called Glasswing, where this new Claude model is so strong they won't allow the public to use it, which leads me to believe that AI is going to become, I don't know what you call it when the government takes over your product due to wartime. But we are in a cold civil intelligence war with the East. And they're going to get preference on all hardware, and they're going to own that market, and they're going to sell it to us at large.
But if you want to make that argument, there's also a whole bunch of new compression algorithms that are coming out because of this stuff that's allowing them to run it on less powerful hardware. So, like, we can run that arms race for as long as you want. I think that, yes, the models are getting better and demanding better hardware, but also the compression for a lot of these things is getting better, thus staving off the need for some of that hardware. So, like, I think it's a bit of a cat and mouse scenario.
Well, the only one that's been proven to do that is TurboQuant with Google, and even then, it's just for RAM. That doesn't account for all the other pieces of hardware for a computer that would rack up the average. And also, you have to include the premium on pre-builts, because if you're a normie who doesn't already have a PC, you probably don't know how to build your own PC, which is why something like an NZXT or all these other things exist. And they tack on like a 20 to 40% premium because, they're like drop shippers effectively.
But you know what else is pre-built? Consoles, man. Like, it's not as if that shit is going to be that much cheaper. Like, I get what you're saying, but I think that
I'm saying you're right. If there is a new technology that reduces GPU cost, compute cost, you're right in that sense. I'm just taking the only reason I'm taking the over is on the assumption that even with TurboQuant, the demand for the amount of compute in order to compete with the East is so strong that games just get slammed to the side as an afterthought, because the idea of defending and I'm not saying I agree with this, by the way, but the idea of defending the homeland and giving Anduril all the chips for his, Apache helicopter drone missiles is going to matter more to President Trump than if, Zelda 3 comes out. That's just how they think.
I think the thing you guys may be missing, or in addition to that, is that these consoles are not going to be $500 as an entry level, right? The next PS6 or the next Xbox are going to be $1,000 plus. I mean, there's just no way it's going to be less. And when you get into that kind of expense category, you can't afford to make many purchases like that in a year or even over a couple years. And everyone is going to have to get a new fucking PC to run this AI stuff, because you're paying an arm and a leg for tokens if you're doing any kind of vibe coding or any kind of serious AI stuff. Right. So I think that just when you think about how people justify the purchase in their own mind, it's like, okay, I'm looking at a new laptop right now, and it's going to be a $5,000 laptop to be able to run all the shit I want to run, right? That means I can't afford to buy, a game console. But guess what? What does that laptop come with? It comes with the highest end GPU that you can possibly get. So it also is awesome for games. And I think this is going to be the problem, is that the reason PCs are going to win is because PCs are a general purpose device and can do all kinds of things, including games. And the more expensive, the better it's going to be at playing games, versus a console which is going to be kind of, fixed. It's going to be a single purpose application. And I just think it's a bad ROI for people now.
I also think, sorry, really quickly, going back to our last topic, if indie games do end up overtaking, then you don't need the like Blackwell GPUs in order to play Valcercel, right? You don't need them to play Slay the Spire. You don't need them to play Mugenics, which are the games that people are playing. So like, let's just put that in context.
So then the answer is the Steam is the Nintendo Switch, right?
Well, and I think
their strategy is do lower end hardware.
Yes,
we could have AMD finally be cool for the first time ever if they're just like, we'll let NVIDIA build the H100s and we'll just make fucking sweet GPUs for the gamers.
Well, it's funny, Sam. I think that's actually the point. It's funny that you're joking, but I think that is actually the point. Like, when is the last time you saw an interesting person at Microsoft say something about gaming? It was in February when Phil Spencer quit, and then in March when the person reporting to Phil Spencer quit. Right, like that is like, it's the big company and Amazon. If you like, by the way, I want you to go and look 2 years ago for me saying the same thing, because I was saying the same thing 2 years ago. What's his name? Hartman, the former Take-Two guy who runs Amazon Web or Game Studios now, has been saying, like, since I was there years ago, that he like doesn't believe in the whole like ecosystem around games and thinks they should just be a publisher. And they went and did that, and they launched some things straight into the sun and like shut down their MMO. And like, when is the last time that you heard Amazon like out there beating the drum about their game stuff? Right? It's like, it's just not it's not in the zeitgeist for these giant companies anymore. And so what I think that means is that like the Microsofts, the Sonys, the people who are not Nintendo, that is like an endemic, the only thing that Nintendo does is make things that people press buttons on and generate happiness and serotonin from. They are going to continue to be players in the space, but the traditional consoles are just, everything's going to be a screen. And in a world where everything is a screen, those are just effectively, I mean, Jonah will call them mobile, but they're like, it's a PC distribution environment, right? And I think that's going to be the mobile devices are just going to converge with, as Kohji said, the Steam Decks of the world. And my kid is going to graduate from using a pad to play stuff to using a Steam Deck to play stuff, because that's just the format, right? That I very, very strongly believe that, and I don't have any evidence to show me that Microsoft, even Sony, really has any interest in like continuing to own the living room, which was like, you could not throw a rock around an entertainment blog 5-6 years ago and not read something about owning the living room, right? And like, it's just, it's not thought. So that's why I think it's the under. It's not because of I think the global conflict and inventory and all that shit is going to play into it, but ultimately I think the people who make the decisions about where the money's spent are telling us they don't care.
Right.
So isn't that putting you in the over camp then, Tony?
No, under. I think that the people in power making consoles are telling us that they believe that the Xbox is not going to be as important as it is right now in 3 years. And thus, the companies making entertainment products for the PC that are not that thing whose leaders are telling us it's not important are going to continue to accelerate past the people who are telling us they don't believe in the business anymore.
So what we're saying, Jerry, is that me and Tony believe that PC will overtake console revenue before 2028.
Before 2028. I think it's. Yeah, I think it's That's why I was laughing at the beginning, because you're like, I'm gonna dunk on Tony, I'm gonna eat his cheese. I agree with
Tony.
him. So you're a good-looking guy, Tony.
I apologize, Tony.
It was like an Andy Samberg moment. It was wonderful.
If I may, I would like to be chosen for your dodgeball team here. Because I am on your side overall. I apologize for what I said earlier. It was very wrong of me. And might I say, Tony, you made a very eloquent argument for basically, I think this all will just basically come down to how does the Steam Deck or the GameCube or whatever, the Steam machine, actually get categorized, like when it comes to unit sales? Because I think that is just the way of the future, right? I think Steam is just Steam will now own every part of the gaming life, right? So it'll control your, man cave or gaming room or whatever, plus the living room, right? Because dude, Sony is still raising the prices of consoles of like the PS5, right? They just raised it by like $50. So, the next machine that comes out is going to be, a step function like up from expense standpoint, whereas, the Steam machine will be whatever it costs, but it'll be fully integrated into the other parts of your PC gaming life, which is kind of why I think that, this is going to be, it'll be categorized as PC sales, right? And and then the unit math also just is on Tony and I's side. Tony, since we're on the same team here, which is it's growing at a faster pace than console is by over double, right? 2.5% as good, or as much growth. So yeah, that's going to happen soon. And Tony, you make great points, buddy.
Yeah, I actually agree with my left panel brethren here. It's like I also take the under as well too, and I think the console's like historic edge was like the all-in-one. There was a lot of value back in the day because it was your DVD machine, your game machine, your media hub, and now with like smart TVs, that's completely gone because a lot of the apps are now currently on your TV, right? So that's completely annihilated. But then also from just a product standpoint, a lot of people are playing like these games that are super old nowadays. So like Counter-Strike, League of Legends, Dota, and then also Roblox. Roblox is taking the world by storm, right, from a UGC concept. So people are living in the browser as well too. So, and then you layer on top of entertainment's not now captivated in interactive entertainment. It is now like you have Netflix, you have like Spotify, you now have AI as a very useful thing. And so buying from a value point of view, it is going to be PC all the way, which then eventually will then be able to drive up the sales to the point that Chris does. I don't know. I don't think a lot of people are going to buy a 5K machine, but definitely people are going to buy, $1,000 like laptop to be able to run all the things that they want to do, including AI, including like searching the web and all that kind of stuff, where like the consoles just are not able to keep up with that. PlayStation, Xbox, again, I agree with Jerry too. I don't know where those are going to land, but I do believe that the console will have to be more like PC if they're going to want to compete.
I think the last thing I want to add to this topic is everything is relative, and the relative price impact of if we say, okay, GPUs are getting $100 more expensive, and my console goes from costing $1,000 to $1,100. That feels much, much, much worse because it is much, much worse than my laptop that cost me $5,000 that Chris was alluding to earlier, now costing $5,100. That is an order of magnitude impact that is happening to me whenever I go to the checkout line. And a lot of people just don't have the ability to do that. You can't make the decision, the long-term decision of I'm going to pay $5,100 instead because, as Jonah so eloquently put, you're eating sleep for dinner, and therefore
I love that.
You can't do that. And so it's going to be really interesting to see if console can find a way to reduce the impact to the point that they can stay competitive. But a lot of people, Chris last week said that this is becoming a luxury product. And if it is a luxury product, you're certainly going to pick the laptop that also can be used for work, etc. With that said, though, we'll move on because we have a lot more.
It's the definition of a luxury product, right? But most of us probably use our console to watch Netflix and HBO on, right? Like, are any of us still gaming on consoles?
Why do you use your console to just use your TV?
That's I don't even own one, dude. I don't have a console, so yeah.
We move on. Red flag or green flag? Take-Two is cutting its entire AI team. A little Uno reverse card from the boys here. Take-Two reportedly eliminated its entire AI team as part of a restructuring. At the same time, Strauss-Zelnick is publicly saying that the company is embracing AI across the business, running hundreds of pilots and already seeing quote-unquote efficiency gains. There is a clear contradiction here, though. Is this what mature AI adoption looks like, where the tooling gets embedded everywhere and no longer needs to be a big central flag planted on it? Or is this a clean way to back away from the hype without admitting it? Just to add a personal anecdote, I saw one of my friends at GDC. They actually were at Meta, formerly Facebook, on an AI strike team within the company. And that strike team is also now closed. So Take-Two clearly not the only ones doing this. And I'm sure there are many others. Red flag or green flag? Let's go around the horn real quick before we dive into the topic. Tony, currently AFK, so we'll start with Jerry.
Sorry, I had to go get a drink of water. I abstain from this conversation.
Tony and I will go green flag.
Okay.
Green flag as well.
Payton, green flag.
Green.
I think it's a green flag too.
Wow, everybody's a green flag on this one. All right, Jerry.
I'll be a red flag if I need to. Tony and I are now red flag.
Yeah. All right, tell me why you're a red flag. Why are you a red flag?
Because now they're first of all, they're not going to stop using AI. They're just going to use AI for like HR and admin purposes, right? Which is like always it has what it is meant to be used as. But I also think that like just closing down this entire division and saying like nothing can come from it right now is, I think, wrong. And I think they're just probably misusing AI, and they jumped the gun like everybody does in big companies where they're like, AI is a thing, now we're going to force it on everybody, right? And people are like, nah, the tooling is just not in place yet. But to shutter the entire division, you know, and not keep like a small team or like a strike team, like you said, and explore what can be done and the best ways to go about and use these things is, I think, the wrong thing, right? You know, these companies tried to force fit AI before it was ready to, and tried to make everybody use it, and it wasn't there, and thus these teams produced nothing. But I mean, ultimately, to be a big company like this and not have a team that's like on the cutting edge or the tip of the spear of what can, you know, drop the cost of development, the time of development, I think is kind of a faux pas, you know. And I think it's just silly. And this would be an argument for, you know, like these small team guys that are saying like, go use these tools. But for big companies to just walk completely away from it, I think I think this is what puts big companies in gaming behind the 8 ball a lot of the time. And I think thus is why a lot of what they do becomes uninspiring, right? And I would put Take-Two potentially in that category.
Great point.
I highly disagree.
Oh, go ahead.
Payton,
No, go ahead, Chris.
Okay, you got Take-Two with 2,000 employees on Grand Theft Auto. They're spending over $1 billion to make this game, and you can't have like 3 dudes being like, "Hey, we could do this with AI," and just like,
yeah, dude,
make things more efficient.
Context.
Get your texture artists on there. Get your environment artists using this shit, dude.
You know, dude, I can say that you did not even read these show notes beforehand because you did not do any research. Context matters in this. The team was Zynga's, so they inherited this, right? So it's machine learning focused. So like, it's not aligned with Gen AI, which is like, if you're not doing Gen AI, if you're not doing LLMs, if your team is still doing like machine learning type of things, get out of my freaking face. And so I think that's really what Take-Two is doing. They're actually green flag because they just fired that staff, and they're probably going to build up an AI thing for Take-Two that is more focused on Gen AI and all that stuff. And so that was a 2022 acquisition. That is freaking, in AI years, that's like freaking ancient. That's like dinosaurs, bro. You know what I mean? And so the entire landscape has completely shifted. And I think Take-Two is even smarter for this move. That's why I think it's a green flag. And I know, Jerry, you're trying to play the contrarian, so I forgive you. But like, I think that...
Well, thanks for shitting on me.
Well, that was for the clip, Jerry. But that was for the clip farm. For the viewers, they know that we love you. But yeah, I would say that like Take-Two is very smart in doing this early. Probably Zynga, they felt bad that they inherited them, did machine learning, probably not focused on mobile. They're going to go Grand Theft Auto, maybe a UGC. Let's do some Gen AI, some stuff. I'm super excited about this, and I think that they're going to build from the ground up using Gen AI within Take-Two moving forward, and I'm super excited about that.
Let's go over to Chris Heatherley. Chris, why are you calling this a green flag?
Because central tech teams rarely work, and you know, they often wind up being a bottleneck to the rest of the organization because everyone else is sitting there with, you know, Claude code and fucking around with it at home or Cursor or whatever. And, you know, then at work, they're being told, hold, don't do anything because the central tech guys have been anointed to do the AI. So it may also be what Payton said, which is that they were doing AI, but a very different type of AI. They were doing machine learning and not like LLM based stuff, or they were doing, you know, reinforcement learning or something. So you just don't know what they were really doing. But I think that, you know, where you want to get is like everyone is using AI, right? And everyone is using the tools, and you're just using like, you know, CI/CD pipelines or whatever to, you know, you know, your code repositories to, you know, manage code so that people are not checking in bad code. I mean, it's going to be a problem, right, at a lot of these companies because really we should be getting rid of like the game designer and programmer distinction, and like all of your game designers should be, you know, essentially vibe coding stuff that then gets peer reviewed by a programmer and checked it, and then checked into the branch, right? But you know, I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of like fear factor around that kind of workflow. But that's where we're headed. Is really you want to push AI all the way to the edge.
Kohji, you also gave this a green flag. Is it for similar reasons? Chris brings up a good point where just because it's a AI strike team internally doesn't necessarily mean they're making things faster or better. Is that similar to what you think, or is there something else there?
Yeah. I mean, that's basically how I looked at it too, which is like, I think that the way that these things are working, like AI is going to sort of be pervasive and ubiquitous, and it's not going to be like, you know, you don't open an office and have like a cell phone team that's responsible for like all the phones in your office, right? And I mean, there's probably a person whose job that is a part of, but it's just like one small facet of what they do, right? And so I think like having an AI specific team, unless you're doing something like building LLMs or doing something like that, it doesn't really make sense. But if you're leveraging existing technologies to use AI to make your games or whatever, I don't think you need an AI strike team to do that. I think you just need to be like, here are the tools, go use them.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, let's go ahead and move on because we have actually another AI topic. Can even gamers agree that there maybe is a cool use for AI in games? Shout out friend of the show. Well, first we have Chris Heatherley that surfaced this to me, and then John Radoff, another friend of the show from Beamable. He created a first of its kind game in 1993, and he was unable to essentially like recover the data, the structure, the game itself. And using Claude, he is now filling in the blanks of this sort of lost artifact of gaming. We saw the Stop Killing Games movement get over a million signatures. I think it settled around 1.5 million, being headed by some big influencers last year. Now we have AI potentially saving games, which is something that people have been begging for a long time. Is this something that gamers are again going to be able to find a problem with and say that this isn't, you know, close enough to what the real thing is? Or is this something that people can actually rally behind and go, hey, this is pretty cool that AI can essentially salvage history? The question here is, what's the word? Let's go around the panel, starting with Tony, and then we'll circle back for your guys' opinions. Tony, over to you.
Success.
My word would be novel.
Niche.
Great.
Oh, I just muted myself. Sorry. I'm going to echo Chris and just say amazing as well.
All right. Let's go to Chris Heatherley first on this one since he surfaced it. Chris, what was your take seeing this as a result from John Radoff's amazing brain 30 years later? Basically, he's being able to bring this back to life.
I think it's amazing for the industry. Obviously, we're going to lose all of our history if we don't. I mean, a lot of people don't know that a lot of these classic games are just disappearing and can't be played anymore because the hardware they're designed for, the operating systems they're designed for, like all the tech they were built for is gone. You know, they're built in a way that they, look for, floppy drives or, some piece of hardware that doesn't exist anymore. And the way that a lot, when I was at Universal, we did a lot of this like not remastering, but sort of re-releasing old classic games. And they would literally go and because they didn't have access to source code, they would go and basically like just suck the ROM off and then figure out a way to wrap it in an emulator, right? And that's what they were doing. And it's terrible, right? So I think that it's great because we'll be able to reclaim a lot of these classic games. We'll be able to reconstruct them, and people will be able to access them forever and ever. It's great for the industry. The Stop Killing Games people are not going to like it because they're a bunch of fucking whiny communists. So, it's not going to scratch their real itch. The AI haters are, not going to have a good answer on this one because there's no clear way to hate it, but I'm sure they're very creative in there,
Chris,
and they'll find a way to hate it. But fuck those people. They're fighting the future,
Yeah, this is potentially a really cool marketing beat to kind of like win over these, as you so eloquently put it, whiny communists. I feel like this is a great marketing campaign to say, look, we're gonna save the thing that you're worried that we're replacing with our tools. I want to go over to actually,
I'll go to me, and then except they'll say that
I'll go to me.
Yeah, I'll go to me. Burning it down a whole Amazon rainforest is probably what they're going to say next. But I would say that I think the reason why I said niche was that game preservation, I think, is a very great use case that really is good for AI. And I think for one of one of the quotes that I love is that history doesn't have to repeat itself, but it rhymes. And so I think having a really good digital library of this, and I tweeted this out yesterday, I think AI is going to go more in this direction, is that the next decade belongs to digital librarians. So the people who can capture, organize, and route information to agents will quietly control the best decisions and products. And so I think, people that are understanding and how to do this and how to kind of categorize like these games, things, because like what I liked about John's post was that he also this was inspiring to a lot of other people that built other tech on top of this. So it's just really cool just to see that. And so if you can put that into like models and train off of that, I think that's really cool. Do I think like a 17-year-old or a Roblox person is going to care? Like, no. But I will also say like a 35-year-old or a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old who grew up with that game to preserve it now has like disposable income, will care about it deeply. So like, yes, I do think that there's also a market for these type of like ones that want to go down nostalgia lane and be able to like pay for something or whatever at a probably astronomical number. I think that also is super cool. And that's also why I said niche for mine.
I don't know if this is actually true or not, but Tony put in the chat, my wife's getting her master's in digital librarianism, which sounds like a made up thing. What's
right. I mean,
it
might be called librariology. No, but I actually think her master's is it's called digital archival is what I think it is, but she's
okay. She saw the tea leaves.
Her job is going to be the thing that Payton just said. She cares much less about entertainment and wants to digitize all of the legal documents and formation documents of the Bahamas where she's from. But it's so funny that you said that. I super agree with everything that was said here, including Chris's "fuck the haters" message, because I think that's going to continue to be the case as new things emerge that are fun and beautiful. That there's just going to be a group of people that hate the fun and beautiful things, and they hate everything, and that's okay. And they hate it because they really love it, and they're still going to play it, and that's also okay. I can't imagine the number of people who said that they were never going to play Chrono Trigger on a mobile device that are now playing it on a bus somewhere. And so all that to say, I think that this is just another example of how AI is going to help move what we think about when we think, or how we think about video games forward. I actually think that there's going to be a huge use case at one point for all these things that are eventually going to be public domain to be like part of some central model that someone creates that allows them to go and riff on or like re-experience, or like I was literally just thinking this morning I might do this shit because I think it's gonna be hilarious. It's my cousin's birthday, Nicole. She is 2 years older than me, and every year I went down to Miami. My dad and his sister were adamant that we would be close with our cousins growing up, and so I would go down and live in Miami for a couple weeks every year, and we would play Aladdin on the Sega Genesis, not like, and you know what I'm talking about, right? With the Cave of Wonders that no one ever would get through. And so I think later today I'm gonna go mess around and I'm gonna make a little version of that game, but like all of the Aladdin characters and monkeys are gonna be like me and my cousins, and we're gonna be like, I think that's what I'm gonna do with my afternoon after this show. But like I think that there's a universe where like that, like products like that just like exist. Like I don't have to go do that on this thing that I built for myself. I'm like that. There'll just be like a hopefully government funded central repository of AI models or whatever models look like in 5 years that you can just go access because you're a citizen of the world and you want to create things that are cool. And like, we figured that we're in a post-scarcity economy and we have to figure all that out. Like that's the world that I think is going to exist one day. And I think this is a huge part of that, is like, how do we make sure that the initial doom that the whatever model exists that the humans of the future are going to use to make video games has Carmack's doom. Has to have it.
He has to.
Let's go to Jerry.
While we're saying our favorite Chris quotes, I was personally a fan of "Suck the Raw Off."
Yeah, I hit him with the pause.
That was crazy. That was crazy. Yeah, I mean, like, how cool is it that John? It's saying it was like 30 years ago. I know John. I have no idea how old he is, but I imagine 30 years ago he was. Well, I don't think he was like a working man 30 years ago. Shout out John, dude.
He said on the stuff, like he said a date, and I was like, I wasn't born yet.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. How cool that from before you were born and before, dude. I mean, we lost people when Chris mentioned floppy disks because a huge part of this audience is like, what even are those, right?
Yeah.
But like, how cool that he can take something from pre-Payton, and create that into reality now to be like to show his kids or whatever, right? And I think this is ways that AI is legitimately cool, right? Or like, I was a huge WoW guy, right? And we had like add-ons and stuff. And I was like, man, I could never make one of these, right? But like, I think there's going to be these kind of like asymmetric ways that people can like sneak AI into more of like the gaming zeitgeist. And I think it'll be through things like what John did. I mean, it legitimately is a cool story and a great use case for gaming. People will still find a way to hate it because, it's
100%.
it's the Reddit hive mind that has just decided that they hate all of these things. But like John's a friend of all of ours. And I was touched reading that story because I'm like, that's what a cool moment for him to be able to go like recapture something that couldn't exist. And you do hear this story in gaming, like Blizzard famously, when people were like, they were shutting down, private classic servers or vanilla servers. And they were like, well, why don't you guys make it then? They're like, the code doesn't exist. And that was a huge, blocker, or at least they claimed it probably existed. They just said that. But like, you can now go and kind of recreate some of these things that were like Tony's story is cool too. I took a nap on Nicole's couch when we were in Miami together, right? So like, I'm glad that she gets to go be in the Cave of Wonders again, and maybe I'll be napping on a couch in the background, Tony. That would make me.
Yeah, small piece of Sam lore. I actually posted on Blizzard forums in like 2014, and I was like, "Bring Classic back. You could just have an isolated server that's just Classic for all of us that love Classic." And I literally got an official Blizzard response, and they were like, "It's impossible. It'll never happen. The code doesn't exist." And then like 10 years later, they did it. It was a huge
famous
success.
stage. What kind of flavor of ice cream do you like?
I take my victory lap yearly.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that being said, let's move on to the last topic of the day. Great work on that last one, guys. Can an indie subscription service actually work? Tony actually brought this up a couple of times in our earlier topic. We're going to do a sentiment score here. I'm asking for 1 to 10, 1 being you think it's absolutely terrible, 10 being you think it's the best thing you've seen all year. We're going to go around rapid fire, but first let me introduce it. Indie.io is launching an Indie Pass, $7 per month as a subscription with around 70 rotating indie titles and a revenue share model tied to player engagement for those games. The pitch is obvious. The indie discovery is broken. Back catalogs die fast. Jerry mentioned earlier 20,000 games being launched a year on Steam. So this is trying to create a curated rediscovery engine instead of all the giant all-you-can-eat content libraries that are out there or having to find your way to some sort of discovery on Steam. Again, sentiment score on this one. Tony, starting with you.
10. I give it a 10.
1.
Ooh.
3.
I wish it was a 10, but it's a 2.
Oh,
I'm a 10. I'm a hard 10.
Oh, I love it, dude. Tony, okay, kick us off. I know you mentioned earlier, kick off why you think it's a 10, then I'm going to Jerry for the 1.
Yeah, I want to be clear. I have no connection with Indie.io other than I worked with Donovan a million years ago, and I like the guy when I worked with him a million years ago. But I do think that what they've done with Indie.io is impressive. I know that there's some controversy around maybe how they've done it, but I think that they've had a clear vision around doing a thing, building a catalog, and then leveraging that catalog to help grow new additions to the catalog. And I think that this is an evolution of that strategy. And as a multiple year subscriber of the Humble Bundle, like I think that I don't think there is clearly some amount of regular revenue to be had from the indie audience by curating games to them on a regular basis. I give this a 10 on the business model, on the content, the content that I've seen come out of Indie.io, because I really do like a lot of their games. I'm playing the shit out of Shrine's Legacy right now. I think that they are seeing where the puck is going. I don't know if they are going to be the ones to solve this. That's why I give the model a 10. I think it is the future. I don't know if $6.99, $7.99 for all you can eat games rotating in the catalog makes sense. I don't know if it's going to be ad-based monetization and you pay to not see ads when you're consuming all the games that you want. I don't know if it's going to be some secret model that isn't that, but I do think that the idea of building a strong catalog and using that catalog to continue to grow sales and financial benefit for the people who made those games is super savvy and not something that a lot of people were thinking about years ago when they were building the foundation for this. And so that's the reason I give it a 10. Is I think it is really it's a I don't want to call it good execution because I haven't followed how well they're executing, but it is a clear execution of an intentional strategy that I have a lot of conviction in. And so that's why I think it's a 10.
Going to Jerry, then Kohji's chomping at the bit. Jerry, you gave this a 1. Hit me.
Sam, you just said in your intro to this segment that distribution's broken. I just listened to all these people tell me how it's being solved by all these indie guys. So
you just go viral, Jerry. That's it, dude. Just go viral,
yeah, just go viral.
Hey, don't put me in that category with them, Jerry. Come on now.
Hey, man, it got said on this panel. You know, I saw you nodding your head a couple times. So listen, I think, and I also. Tony, I didn't know this was a friend of yours. I apologize. I apologize that I don't believe in it a little bit more.
I like that's how I categorize. I literally said this guy I worked with 10 million years ago and thought he was a good guy then. Now he's my best friend.
Well, I mean, I don't know. In 10 years, if I launch something, I want you to be like, yeah, I know Jerry 10 years ago. He's a good guy, you know. But like, if this didn't work with Game Pass or anything like that rhymes with Game Pass, why is this going to work at $7.99 price points, right? I think things like this are well intended and they are really good at their surface, but how does this work for these 70 rotating game titles, right? What's the split to them, and what is like the that trickle down of the $37 that the bottom 30% of Steam games make now is like fractionalized across 70 different games, and I don't think this actually solves a problem of how do people who are making these indie games make enough money to make a second one and make enough money to be the next Hollow Knight or to be the next Slay the Spire. And I don't think subscriptions really work in gaming. I want them to, because I think there's such a fair and like easy way of like, it does solve distribution. It does solve the ability for teams to make some money. But unless these guys go and get like 10 million people subscribing to this, the unit math just doesn't make sense, really. I mean, it's cool. Like if you're chosen to be one of the 70, it's probably cool. It's probably really exciting.
Right now, it doesn't make sense, Jerry. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's where the puck is going, brother. It doesn't make sense if it costs you minimum high 5, low 6 figures to make a video game. You're absolutely right.
But then, Tony, I thought the puck is going to better distribution for these teams, so they don't need these guys.
It's going to better distribution economics. A better like you don't have to make $1 million to make video games for a living.
So now the puck moves and the goalposts move.
We're playing a different sport entirely. No. You're the one who's trying to simplify things here with the split brain. I have been saying consistently that we are talking about a gradient of how much money and how much complexity it takes and what kind of team it takes, which is what Payton was talking about. You don't need to be a studio head anymore to make a good video game. Like it helps. You certainly have a better shot if you're not as talented as someone, if you can be a good studio head and rally people around you. But a super hyper talented person, it is much more achievable to be Notch now than for Notch to be the only person that ever did what Notch did in the history of video games when he launched Minecraft and made $1 million as an indie game developer before it blew up. Like when he was just selling it for $20 and he made $1 million, he was like the first fucking person that had ever done that, right? And so that's what I'm saying. We are like on the quantum timeline of how fast these things are accelerating, where mass distribution was the only way that you could make any money as a entertainment creator. To now people are making money on things that it costs them $50,000, $100,000 to make. To I really believe that in 3 years, 5 years, games will be able to be made for $5,000 that make $10,000 to $15,000, and people will be able to do that multiple times a year and support themselves. And that's the world I want to live in. And that's the world that I think subscriptions support, because you can
So just to fact check Jerry a little bit though, Game Pass does work. It works too well. That's the problem. Is that people prefer to pay. It's a great value for gamers, but it's killing primary sales, and that's killing the business model. Yeah. So it's not that people don't want subscriptions. I think the problem with Indie.io is I have no idea what these fucking games are, and I don't want a subscription to indie game. I don't need more options of games or more ways to get access to games that I don't know about.
You don't need these new distribution models, Chris.
Time to be able to play the games that I already have. So I just don't think that people are looking for a subscription to stuff they've never heard of.
And I think that, Chris, it is a fair point. Game Pass if you play a lot of video games, Game Pass is one of the most sensible buys you can make, right? But it sucks to the game developer, right?
Yes.
And that is what needs to be solved for these indie games to succeed. And I don't see how Indie.io can actually, either pay a team up front to be like, hey, come jump on this, and this $100,000 we can give you, up front or whatever, can actually like justify it, right?
It shouldn't be up front. It should be a window, right? It's right. or non-exclusive. So like it works as a window. We had this in the movie business for the longest time. Movie came out in theaters. It had it had 6 months of exclusivity to theaters. Then it hit DVD. Then it hit the pay window. Then it hit the then it hit all the other windows, right? Eventually it was free on TV with ads, right? Then when they collapsed those windows, which is what Microsoft is doing with Game Pass, it killed the entire industry. And lo and behold, Game Pass is doing the same thing to Xbox, right? So it's just about windowing. I think something like Indie.io might do okay if it had games in it like Balatro and Hades 2 after a while, and it had like stuff like that people have heard of that they want to play. But the thing is that that if you've heard of an indie title, it's probably on Game Pass, and you're probably already subscribing to Game Pass, right?
Yeah, and I'm gonna say one more. This is gonna fire Kohji up, but the Hades of the world and the Balatros, they end up becoming what they hate, right? They end up being like, hey, we can control our own distribution. We can go gather the primary sales, and we can go self-publish. So we don't need any of these things. So thus you end up with garbage on these things like indie.io, right? Because the ones that are good don't need it. So
they do have Mega Bonk. That's pretty good.
That was Dub what Dub wanted.
Yeah, we gotta tag Kohji in. He's trying to get everybody to shut the fuck up so we can get a word in edgewise. Go ahead, Kohji. Why is this?
You guys have lost your fucking minds. All right. we have examples from not that long ago that this shit works. You can buy up garbage, repackage it, and sell it until it's successful enough that you can do your own stuff, right? Like look at Netflix, man. Netflix is a perfect fucking example. Everyone thinks about, House of Cards and this and that. You know what the first titles on Netflix were? Fucking Last Action Hero, Bloodsport 4, Cheerleader Ninjas. Like, what are we talking about?
Sir, and you're like, let's not disparage Cheerleader Ninjas, okay?
Yeah. I will not stand here and let you.
But people are, and then, on top of that, of course, there's some classics like, 12 Monkeys, 12 Angry Men from 1957, The Breakfast Club. But like those are older, tried, tested, and true things, right? So you could take indie games from 10 years ago, throw this on this streaming service, some like mid-tier to low tier, package it up and sell to people. The fact that you're like, oh no, but they won't have these like blockbuster titles or no one will have ever heard of this shit. It doesn't matter, man. If you make it convenient enough and you make it fun enough, people are going to try it, especially in a world where, I'm like, fuck, I don't want to spend, $40 to $60 on a game that I'm not going to be playing in 2 weeks. Let me just spend like $8 a month and I'll just play the shit out of a whole bunch of things until I find my next favorite game that I can waste 2 days on and then move on to the next. Like, I think it's fine. And the fact that we have concrete examples of this model working and everyone's standing here being like, this will never work is fucking bananas to me.
I want to say for the people, the new audience that might be watching this, we used to do this show in audio only format. This is actually the 155th episode. And we have this saying, time proves Jerry right. So in a year, when you reflect back on this and I was right, I will just, I'll remember. The panelists, they always forget. So Payton, bring us home, baby.
It's not a saying. Yeah.
That's hilarious, dude.
Lems, bring up the math, baby. Lems in the background. Bring up the math for next episode.
I think Jerry is remembering when this was an imaginary show, not an online only show.
Game Pass has been dying for 5 years, and it has been the most unprofitable business on the face of the planet for that entire time.
Wait, we talked about one of these like 2 years ago. It was something like this that we talked about. You guys were all like, "This is going to save gaming," and I was like, "I don't think so, guys."
Not only is Jerry always right,
you guys all had your little fucking quip. These guys have their little quips and they think they're funny. And hey, dude, in time, Jerry will be.
I like how he picks one example, man. A broken clock is right twice a day.
He picked one example that he didn't specify. He was like, "Yeah, a year ago I said something."
I don't even remember the name of the thing. That's how insignificant it was. I don't even remember the name of whatever the other thing was.
No, you had to go back a year to find a thing that you said that was right. That's what my takeaway.
Payton, I want to get you in on this. Which side?
Yeah. Well, mostly it's for me, the sentiment, the reason why it was 3, it's just like somebody's already done this, right? So like the humble bundle, like Tony, you already said it.
He's
Like, this
back
is
on
already
dating
what
apps. So
already what it
he's talking about-
does. No, stop it. My wife watches the show. And then so the humble bundle, right, is something that's like that. The other side of things though, is that Steam already does this with like Next Fest, all these types of fests. So why are you trying to compete with like the guy that's like,
well, we need new distribution, Payton.
well, I understand that, but I just think that like, why don't you put this much effort into like production or like having like a show for it? Like Next Fest doesn't have a very good production side of things. So like for me, if you're somebody that's going to be trying to do something innovative, don't go off of a subscription that like is going to have something like we debate here. Do something like what Ramp did, right? It was like bring in Kevin from The Office and do like these production type of things and make it more interesting, that it goes wider and is a better as a publisher. I think that's really what they want to do.
Games
as
done
indie.
quick. Get those guys to do like a day-long speed running all the games in the catalog or something.
Exactly, or something like that. Where
or maybe get Imagine Dragons to make a game for it.
Yeah, 100%, Jerry. You know, it's a very popular band, if you didn't know. And so that's what I feel, as if like Next Fest and festivals already solved this type of thing. I can go on Next Fest, I can try out all these games and then be able to do it. Steam is also ramping them up. A lot of people just know about Next Fest, but there's also Gamescom Fest. There's a whole bunch of other just different festivals. I got one for Champions. I was on 3 different festivals because I applied, because there's also Game Devs of Color Festival. There's just all of these things that help with this distribution for it. I just feel like I like the idea, but it's already been done. And so that means that it most likely won't succeed, or they won't be able to have domain like expertise or knowledge on it enough that they would be a long-term play. I think Steam owns this. Don't even try to compete with it.
I like this. We already had a Netflix, so why should we have a Disney Plus or a Paramount Plus or countless other streaming services? There should only ever be one.
Yeah, I guess, but like that's also,
you know what?
That's also whenever no games are like, you're saying that Steam owns like all gaming distribution and downloads, right? So like Netflix, like
I'm not saying that. You're saying that.
Well, yeah, I am saying it. So like in terms of that, like, but like Netflix has all of that. Like, what's the point of going to Disney Plus whenever like Netflix owns all of the videos?
Aliens, baby, aliens. Can't watch Aliens on Netflix, baby.
And then if you're doing that, then like, why not just buy that one singular game, right? So like,
because I could spend $8 and then play a whole bunch of games and find the one I like instead of paying $8 for that one.
Right? Yes, but I mean, it's also like Netflix already has all of them.
That's like Apple. You know, Apple once upon a time had music distribution. Why did we need a Spotify? Why would anyone pay, $8 a month?
But that's what I'm saying, Kohji, is that it was actually innovative of actually streaming. Like the distribution that Apple had was I have to buy it on iTunes, right? And then Apple Music copied them. And that's what I'm saying, is that this is not very innovative. You're buying a subscription to buy games.
But this is what I was going to earlier. This is where I agree, and I think I'm like channeling Mr. Blackstock here. So Sam, tell him I said what's up. But I do think that as I watch again these kids, as I watch the kids, I'm so fucking old, but like I watch my kid popcorn games with her kid. I watch my cousins popcorn games together. I think that there's going to be a model like Mr. Blackstock believes that where people consume games and we monetize based on that consumption, and ads is such a tired way to say it, but like via some sort of ad style mechanic where the subscription you're paying is not just for access to the content. Like, man, maybe you get for more premium access to the content, right? You get all the DLC and shit if you're an ad-free subscriber and yada yada yada. But I think that the consumption model not only is likely, but like is almost required in the world that we're moving to. Like, either we're going to have entertainment driven models where people make things and then get paid on how people consume them, I think, or the farmers and the truck drivers are literally going to kill the people on this call. Like, that is, I think those are the two universes that can diverge.
I also think that
the game developers are going to kill you. The game makers are on my side here.
Exactly.
No,
exactly.
As a game developer, the only person I'm going to kill is right here. So.
Oh, it's a great note to end on, actually. Let's go ahead and do the MVP voting on that incredible little, I don't even know what to call that, suicide note from Kohji. Tony, over to you.
I'm gonna say this. I can't give it to him because he didn't stay to the end. But if Jonah had stayed to the end, I would give it to him. That was an incredible set of takes from Jonah that I wasn't expecting. But instead, I'll throw it to my boy Kohji. I feel like we had a rare few moments where we aligned here, and I really enjoyed that. And so I'm gonna throw it over to him.
That might be the only way we can get him to show up next week without disappearing into the night. Kohji, who's your MVP of the day, bud?
Who is my MVP of the day? It's very tough. Everyone was in top form this episode. Yeah. I'm gonna go Payton. I think Payton really put not only good points across, but had the energy as well, which is
you good, Kohji?
What's that?
What's going on, man? You need me to call you after this? Is everything all right?
After that last game at Jerry, we're all calling him, dude.
That's right.
We're all playing Climb after this, or golf with.
I have my AI therapist. They'll take care of me. Don't worry.
Please tell me you're using Claude and not ChatGPT, dude. Please, that's all I need to know. That's all. Let's go over to Payton. Payton, who's your MVP?
I'm gonna give it to Tony because I just missed him so much. Honestly, I need to talk with him more. I actually agreed with a lot of Jerry's take, but his statement about saying, he's always right. Not gonna make him right one more time. So Tony's my MVP.
Payton, or sorry, Jerry, who you got?
Chris killed it. Chris was he was very well. He was concise. He had good points. He disagreed with me just enough to not piss me off like Tony, but the right amount to challenge me. So Chris.
The sweet spot. Chris Heatherley, who you got?
I was torn between Tony and Payton, but then Jerry gave it to me, so now I'm going to give it to him because I thought he took the contrarian side several times, and
he didn't know, Chris. He just didn't understand the question, like me.
He suffered.
I brought stats. Peyton doesn't do that, dude.
Whiteboard.
There's a whiteboard. That whiteboard has never had anything written on it, dude. You could do like a Woody Page thing. You've never written anything on that whiteboard,
dude. There is something written right now. I'm gonna disprove you.
He changed his underwear.
Okay, while we're waiting, I just want to disprove Peyton's last point about Spotify, because before that we had Rhapsody, Last FM, and Pandora. Why did we need Spotify? Just
Pandora
saying, man.
Was kind of fire.
To be honest, Kohji, I definitely felt some type of way about your.
The only thing something's written on his whiteboard.
He's probably right, but I didn't want to back down. So.
That whiteboard, it's the same thing that's been on there. It can't erase anymore. In dry erase just has been written down to.
Just like Tony, dude. Okay, that's what I'm saying, is that you can't just try to redo your take like 20 minutes after. You know what I mean? I already disproved it. Jerry's not always right.
Payton, I'm waiting with bated breath. What's on the thing?
Oh,
you're gonna show and tell.
It's what we've been talking about. It's not fun. It's not at all.
It was his champions go-to-market strategy.
Shut up, Jerry. That's on the back of the board.
I'm pretty sure we're tied, right? Didn't everybody vote for somebody else?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that
so
makes
Sam, why don't you take it, buddy?
Yo, Phil Lems, in the background.
I don't think I got a vote, so
you did one, Kohji. Tony.
Payton, the king of the canines, the patron of pooches, the daddy of the doggos, amazing energy, even better takes, etc. What's your 60 seconds of FaceTime?
60 seconds of FaceTime. Honestly, tune in to Gamified. I love Gamified. Phil says to give us to Jerry, so I'm going to relent my next 30 seconds to Jerry.
Lem says anyone but Jerry, and then Phil says I give it to Jerry. So we kind of broke even on that one.
All right. Well, I just wanted to say, and then I'll relent to Jerry, is that this show is my favorite show. Even whenever I'm not on it or hosting it, I honestly just love the takes. Like last week's was one of my favorites, and it's just getting better every single week. And so I would hopefully get more and more people to watch it. I send it to people, even without in the gaming industry. So love it.
See, that's magnanimity. See, that's how you went. That's what a champion. That's like the magnanimity you want from a champion.
It's just because I did a Navy Sea Time story that Chris was just like, yo, Payton's actually a lot cooler than I actually let on to believe. He did some stuff with NASA. So yeah.
All right, Jerry, what are you doing with your secondary MVP?
Oh, okay. I thought Chris just took my 30 seconds. I I don't have anything to plug for myself. I don't know. These guys all work on really cool things. You know, I'd rather talk about them. Tony, yeah, I'd rather these guys talk about their shit and go use their stuff because it's actually.
Gary does have.
I love you guys. I have to go pick up my 10-year-old from school, guys. I love you so much.
She's been waiting there for an hour.
My wife just texted me and said, "Don't forget to pick up Hazel," but I gotta go. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Which he did, ladies and gentlemen. But also, I will say too, Chris had like some banger lines that I think. If we're voting on who do you think is going to be the most clippable, definitely Chris.
Yeah, we've got a chat log full of clip that's at different timestamps. Very excited about today's episode. Thank you guys so much. I'll do it for today. We'll see you back same time, same place next week. Big hugs.